Seldom heard voices, or seldom heard, is a term that I think was first coined by Kids Company because people were constantly talking about hard to reach people in society, and basically this is turning it on its head, because it's not that they're hard to reach, it's that quite often when we do get to talk to people we don't listen. So basically seldom heard voices is quite a strong message.
John, Sean, Hugo, Dave, Jude, Dagdav, Amy, Joy, Kaylee, Charlie, Charles? Was that right? And we're going to stay with your names and we're going to build it up a bit, and we're going to look at alliteration with your names. Do you know anyone know what alliteration is?
I know.
What's alliteration?
Where you use the same letter or the same.
So the project was the inspiration of my colleague Wendy Cutts. Wendy and I'd work with what we refer to as seldom heard groups. So we thought it would be interesting to use the theme of the Paralympics, basically at the centre of an idea of working with young people with various physical disabilities to enable them to communicate about their own experiences and perhaps engage in conversations whereby they can talk about things that they might like to see changed out in society and issues that have been affecting them.
Some of these guys actually have a different way of communicating, so you might see words appearing behind them. They might have a special voice synthesizer, or they might be signing. So this is lots of different ways of communicating. Clap for these guys.
Some of the most inspiring people I've ever worked with. Really beautiful what human beings can do regardless of perceived setbacks. So this is a poem all about my mate David here. David can't walk and he can't talk. And he goes around in a smart electric wheelchair and he talks to an electric voice synthesizer, and David is always laughing. And though it takes great effort for David to just spell a word, let alone write a poem, still he just gets stuck in. He goes for it, he lets his heart pour out, and it sounds funny the way his voice synthesizer takes his words, scrubs them free from emotion, and takes the strongest passion and renders it flat and atonal. But just look at David's eyes. David can control his eyes. Look at them focusing on his screen, burning like lasers, searing his lines into being.
The truth is, I can do anything that I want. I am an actor on West End, doing the thing that I love.
David's machine that just speaks in a flat monotone. It's all the things we use normally to communicate, like the different tones and nuances of voice, are completely ironed out. So we've had to really work with that. This is a real challenge for me. I'm used to working with all sorts of different groups of people, but I've never worked with people with severe physical challenges like this.
We do address disability in this school. Obviously we live it every day. The students do, and we live it in our own way by being with the students and enabling the students, helping the students and helping them to have a voice. We haven't really talked about disability within an art form or in any other format other than kind of, the standard PSHE lessons. So it's really great to bring it into other subjects, to explore it in a really creative way, and use it as a stimulus for ideas.
And we're going to try together to write a performance piece for a big show that's going to happen at the same time as the Paralympics.
I think it's a good time to be involved with performance poetry, and that's why we brought that into this project.
Just that thing of being able to work the feeling of a room and connect with them and to share my life experiences there's nothing else like it really. It's wonderful.
Performance poetry is very current. It's a new form of satire. I think that young people have actually grasped that too.
I love chickens in small trousers. Love is love. It makes me feel warm.
It's very important to influence key decision makers. It's important that they have that platform to share their ideas and tell the wider public what it's like to be them and what issues are affecting them. And importantly, what changes they might like to see to improve the way that they live their lives and the opportunities that are available to them.
Everyone deserves a say. We all got our individual voice heard.
And at the beginning of the project, I was thinking, guys, I thought this is absolutely pointless. I won't learn anything. But actually, I did learn quite a lot from it. I've learned a lot about styles of writing, kind of like, and also what's a cliche and what isn't, kind of thing.
I think I'm quite brave. Unlike my mechanical adversaries, the guns and the cannons. I mean, at least I am actually on the front line. I'm sick of getting treated like a second-class citizen. Can you believe some plonker actually said the pen is mightier than the sword? I should get that person stabbed. I'm a long, shiny, elegant, not to mention the ladies love me.
Our students are great. They have so much to say. Dave is a very passionate young man, and since he's been able to communicate using his Liberator, which is his communication aid, he speaks so eloquently and passionately, and it's great for him to have been able to access poetry and write poetry by using this machine, and you can really see who he is and what's going on inside his head.
I wrote a poem about myself, the way I perceive myself, and the way the world perceives me. Some people think disability is a vegetable, sitting in a vegetable freezer box. But I am not a vegetable. I am an actor on West End, doing the thing that I love, or an F1 driver, driving the Grand Prix around the globe, a footballer playing in the Premier League, or just on my PlayStation just chilling out. The truth is I can do anything that I want. It was you that's disabled. I am not disabled. I am just me.
Power of a disabled person saying, I am not a vegetable. I think with an electronic voice as well. One of the most powerful, reclaiming sort of negative terms for disability. His intelligence never fails to astound me.
Dave's poem in particular, Just Me, he talks about other people looking at him and thinking that he's a vegetable and doesn't have a brain, doesn't have a mind, doesn't have a voice, and they have no idea. He has a beautiful brain and a beautiful mind, and he does all sorts of things. He lives a really full, rich life.
I just didn't think that, say, somebody like David would think like the way David does. You know, and this all laddish talk and slang.
He's a very intelligent young man.
Because there's often a lot of obvious communication difficulties, obvious physical difficulties, the difference between them and us is something that scares a lot of people, I think.
Some people in the supermarket, when I was younger, used to stare at me. And I think, what are you staring at? I'm now on the table. All we got to do is come up and ask about my disability, and I'll tell you about it. Not just stand there and stare at me.
For the people who stare.
Get to know the person you're staring at.
For the people who stare.
What's your problem?
What is your problem? Try to step in my shoes.
For the people who stare.
Don't. It makes me feel scared.
It makes me feel sad.
For the people who stare.
Everyone is different, but judgment takes over.
I can't do anything about it.
People are always scared of what's different.
For the people who stare.
You are disabled to me.
I am disabled to you.
We are all aliens on this world.
It's not the public or society's fault that they do stereotype disabled people. I think just in general, because we are, we are different, and because they are different, they do get stereotyped. Just like if someone is different, you're always going to get stereotyped. It's just something that happens.
There was a point in the project about halfway through when we started to talk about disability and actually with the young people what disability meant. And there was a real kind of hurdle, if you like, at that point, because often actually people don't talk about their disabilities or what that means or how maybe other people might view them. So it took quite a lot of determination and courage, I think, to get through that and to actually say, this is how I feel.
I spend my life frustrated. It's tiring being me. I'm often confused and angry, but people don't always see the real me. People see the wheelchair as an ugly part of me. But look at me. I'm thin and pretty. Something everyone wants to be.
Lucy's been quite a revelation in this project. She's quite a passionate young lady. She communicates with a communication book. She has very big spasms and finds it very hard to point to her symbols or use her Dynavox. She's not able to talk, so she becomes very frustrated.
Talking about how angry she felt and how upset she felt at people who stared at her, or looking out the window at home and seeing everyone playing and having a good time and not being able to go out there. And for the young people to really start to talk about that and how they felt and how isolated they felt and how they felt about what other being judged, really. I think that took a lot of courage, and then start putting that into poems.
After you've had a brain injury, it seems like you're on your own. Your friends leave you, and you've only got your family. They don't see any past the wheelchair. It's just the wheelchair.
Jagdev is a student that came to us a couple of years ago, and he wasn't born disabled. He had an aneurysm and became disabled. And his poem is about the very start of his disability. And he's gone on a very long journey about accepting who he is now, accepting his disability, but celebrating the person that he has become. And I think his poem it's very courageous. It's sharing that moment when he had his aneurysm. It's sharing the very moment when his life changed forever.
It might take Jagdev a bit of time to get through this poem, but I know that you're going to be with him. He wrote this about his experiences, and it's called My Name is Jagdev Singh. Whenever you're ready, Jagdev.
My name is Jagdev Singh. If I could, I would change everything. It all started at Bournemouth School when life became cruel. Bombs going off in my head, a feeling I remember and dread. I was picked up by St. John and his paramedics didn't turn the sirens on. When I was 11 years and 10 months, my life was turned on its head when I was 11 years and 10 months. I lost my street cred. When I was 11 years and 10 months, I had a brain injury. When I was 11 years and 10 months, I gained a disability. I could not walk, I could not talk, I could not eat, I could not drink. Fortunately, that I could still think. 6 years down the line, I am recovering, and even though I see life through a solar eclipse, I still have a vision. My name is Jack Singh, and I have changed everything.
It's totally revolutionised the way that he just looks at the world, and he's now full of hope and full of aspiration. He wants to be a poet. He's set up a poetry group at the school, and it's given him purpose. It's given him meaning. It's given him something to believe in himself.
I think the most amazing moment of the whole thing for me was when he had written his poem on his own at home and had brought it into the session and said that he had this poem he wanted to read. And he performed sort of My Name is Jagdev Singh, the draft version in front of everybody, very slowly as he does in his sort of, and it was such an amazing moment. It was and listening to him, it was like, that was the moment I knew this project had succeeded. And that was the moment I knew we'd got something really special.
I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to tell the world about my journey through my disability. People who have had brain acquired injury can rehabilitate themselves to become able-bodied. Okay.
Poetry is quite powerful in the way it's spoken, especially if you've got a really deep thing you want to put across, like disability.
I believe in enabling our kids to show the talent that they have, to celebrate the people that they are, because they're brilliant young people. And I think if they do that, then people will listen. It's a very positive place. The kids are very positive kids. We believe that they can achieve a lot, and I think because we believe, they believe as well, and we do. I think we do live our lives under that kind of philosophy, really. It's not a can't do place, it's a can do place, and we do everything that we can to make things happen and make things possible, like this project, really. It's been very difficult for them to access and get to places, and you know, it's not a case of let's all hop on a bus and go to Weymouth. It really isn't.
Think to myself, oh, it doesn't matter being disabled, because it doesn't. You just got to deal with it.
Despite being confined to a wheelchair, someone like Jude, you know, he just longs for the open road. You know, it is all of his stuff is about you know, feeling the wind in his hair, being on the back of a motorbike, seeing his wheelchair as like a racing car kind of thing. And he just realised it just illustrates that just, you know, we're all the same. You might be confined to a wheelchair, but it still doesn't stop you thinking about zooming across the American plains on a Harley kind of thing, and wanting to do that and aspiring to do that, and you know, living that dream through your art, if no other thing.
I definitely would like to make people see disability in a different light and try and make them see that it's not all doom and gloom, and we're just the same as everybody else. I mean, the only difference is we can't always walk or shout at you, but we can definitely express how we feel.
What some people find really easy, we find a bit harder, but we can still do it.
I think the public stereotypically think of a disabled person as having a mental age of a small kid in a wheelchair or a granddad who has gone off their feet. Why do I think that is? Because the public baby me a lot when I'm out in town. This is because of not being with disabilities, and they don't know how to communicate. I want to kill the word disability and disabled, because we aren't disabled. We just find things difficult, and sometimes it's good when it comes to the washing and cleaning and cooking. I think it's great being in an electric wheelchair every day and having more fun than most. Yeah, you get bad days, but that's normal.
When we started the project, it was a challenge. It was difficult to really get to the crux of what we wanted to do. We wanted to talk about disability. That creative outlet has been important for the young people as well, because not only were they writing poetry during the workshop sessions, but they were actually going away and writing poetry in their personal time between each of the workshops and bringing the work that they had produced along to the sessions each week. So I think that really illustrates how powerful it was for them to have some form of creative outlet to not only to share with members of the public, but also to communicate their feelings and experiences with those close to them.
At the moment, we've actually opened up something that hopefully they will take forward. And you know, the great thing about writing and poetry is that you can do it on your own, you can do it in any context.
The work of these students has got to a certain standard, but it's just touched the surface. They're now able to open up and talk about who they are in a creative way. Now we need to open up, talk about who they are in a creative way, but learn about technique, learn about how to write good poetry, learn about how to write good poetry to make people listen.
I would like to think that the quality of this project meant that one person at least had their lives changed by this working. Just one would be something. A lot more people would be even more, obviously, but change people's opinions and hopefully change the opportunities that a young person has got.
Longer term perceptions need to change, and I think the more exposure that members of the public have to stories that come from individuals who are living with varied disabilities is going to be the key to changing those attitudes and perceptions over time.
What do you want to change about the world and why? The world, not just here.
The world. What do I want to change? I think there could be less blunt people who are, who aren't willing to accept disability. That would help. Sometimes I'm on Facebook. We all have Facebook, yeah. And sometimes I'm on Facebook, and someone will post something, and then about say animal cruelty, and I'll think to myself, why post it? Do something about it. I think they just need to do something. If they're passionate about it, do it. Don't sit there. That's not how it works.
I mean, there's been some really powerful thoughts and feelings spoken through the poetry, through the students' work, and they haven't been afraid to say what they think and what they feel about their own lives and how they live their lives. But I think there's more to come. Well, there's definitely more to come, and I would like to be able to give them those platforms to be able to do that.
The truth is I can do anything that I want. It was you that's disabled. I am not disabled. I am just you.
To move on, to go out, no more